Jumping into the number 5 spot of the top 5 FPS gaming mousepads in every price range is the Razer Gigantus V2 in that $0 to $15 price range. If you guys want to check out any of the 5 mousepads in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links, but let's talk about the Gigantus V2. Now, this pad used to be more expensive, but after having that price dropped, this is the best, cheapest cloth pad on the market. Texture here is smooth with some difference between the X and Y axes, and with the glide being a medium speed. It has really good stopping power, the mouse locks into place easily with fast whips. If stopping power is something that you really want, this mouse pad has a ton of it for what it is. I was incredibly accurate during a more fast whippy playstyle. But what about control on this pad? Now, control are those finer, more precise movements such as when sniping, and it's good here. This is to be expected due to the overall speed. It's easy to correct those small movements with precision without the mouse pad feeling sticky. While not perfect, as the friction of the stopping power can sometimes be too intense, you're not gonna find a better mouse pad at this price point. You're just not gonna find it. This price point is phenomenal. Now, the build here is a textured micro weave cloth surface, rubber foam base with a cool anti-slip bottom in that green hexagon patterns. After owning this for a very long time at this point, I've had no problem still with sliding on the desk. Now, the only real note here is that it doesn't have any stitched edges. Now, after I've had this for over 2 years, the top fabric does start to separate from this over time. So this is not a forever mouse pad, but at this price point, I still think it's very worth it, and how it sits today with it being, slightly peeled away, it's still very usable and far from like destroyed by any means. So definitely for the price point, it's great. But with that, let's move on to the number 4 spot, or the $15 to $25 price point. This is the Fanatec Dash. Now, this being a hybrid pad, this does have a decent amount of texture, and because of that, it has a much lower friction than your traditional cloth pad. The glide here feels really smooth with low resistance. It's definitely on the faster side in terms of speed, being significantly faster than the Razer pad. Now, stopping power here is actually pretty decent, but you don't get quite the same locked-in feeling as you do with the Gigantus. If you primarily play FPS games or like to do faster playstyles, this is what this is best suited for. Now, some hybrid pads can lack precision and control. However, control on this pad is actually quite good here, which is why I like this hybrid pad so much, especially for the price. When slightly pressing down on the pad, this makes for a buttery, smooth, controlled sniping experience. For the build, obviously this uses a hybrid textured cloth surface with the Fanatec logo in silver on the bottom right. The base is rubber, and I never had any issues with the pad moving around at all during gameplay. And lastly, a very nice touch of this price point is this does have stitched edges, and that is, well, great to see. Fanatec's been doing a great job with their pads, especially the new ones, which this one is a very new one. With that, let's move on to the number 3 spot. This is in the $25 to $40 price range. This is the BenQ Zowie GSR SE Rogue. This is just a really great all-around middle ground mousepad at a middle ground price. By far the easiest to recommend to 90% of players. This is a cloth pad. Texture here is very smooth and even. Its glide follows suit, being smooth and on the faster side of medium. As for stopping power, when you want to end a fast whipping movement, it stops and feels as though it locks into place immediately. And when you want to start moving again, it doesn't take a lot of effort to get it going, making the whole gaming experience feel pretty fluid. This is a little bit different from the Gigantus, where it does take a little bit more effort to get the mouse going back again after it's locked in. For control, while this isn't a control pad by any means, it still gives you a good amount of precision with those smaller movements when considering the speed. When you're tracking an enemy or sniping in game and have to make those micro adjustments, it's easy to come back on target, which is pretty normal to cloth pads. Overall, this is just a very well refined and balanced mouse pad, which is why it's so easy to recommend to so many players and at a price point that I think most people can afford. For the build, like I said, this is a cloth surface with a BenQ logo in the bottom right, very soft to the touch and isn't abrasive on your wrist or arms, which is a good thing. It has a rubber base with a medium stiffness, and it stays firmly in place on the desk while gaming. Now, there are no stitched edges here, and while I noticed some slight fraying around the edges after just a few usages, after years of usage, this hasn't progressed any further. There's no peeling, there's no more fraying than when I just initially got it and used it. And so it's really good longevity, even though it doesn't have stitch edges. They did a great job with their adhesion here. But with that, let's move on to the number 2 spot. And this is in the $40 to $60 price range. This is the Pulsar ES2. This has a more unique weave on its cloth texture on the top. It's really quite interesting. The texture to the left and right is a bit smoother than up and down movements, but this doesn't bother me at all in game. It's a little bit stiffer than your average cloth pad, making the glide on the medium fast side, although slightly slower than the Zowie, but I do mean slightly slower. It's very close to the Zowie, but overall I do prefer this pad. Stopping power is great here, as you'd expect from a cloth pad. Quick whips to stop feel nice and locked in, which makes for an extremely enjoyable gaming experience. Coupling the fact that this is a little bit quicker while still maintaining really good control for tracking and leading snipes, this is where there is a significant improvement and difference between the Zowie and this. While the Zowie has good control, this has even better control with almost the same speed. Like I said, for the build, this is a fabric surface with an attractive design in the colorway that we got. There are a lot of other colorways, so check the links below if you want to see those. With the addition of the RRQ logo in the top right, as well as the Pulsar branding along the bottom right side. This has stitched edges and a polyurethane foam base, which makes this pad stick to the desk extraordinarily well. And when I do mean stick to the desk, I literally mean it's essentially like glued to the desk once you put it down. It is very sticky, almost like the Artisan pads, but well, taken to like level 11. This is hyper suction-y to the desk, which is very cool. But with that, let's move on to the number 1 spot, which is in the $60 to $100 price range. This is the Artisan Zero. This pad is incredibly balanced, great for precision and fast-paced gaming styles. The Goldilocks, in my opinion. It's also been my daily driver for a mouse pad for years now, and I have yet to want to change it out. For the glide, it has a smooth and even texture with great uniformity, definitely the most uniform and flat knit on the list. Stopping power is great here, almost effortlessly allowing you to get that mouse moving again without locking you up. The movements of the mouse after whips and abrupt stops glide easily and extremely precisely. For the control, pressure of the hand on the mouse is a big factor with this mouse pad. If you put no pressure on the pad, it feels almost like you're on an air hockey table and glides extremely well, but again, can also stop and lock in quickly, almost effortlessly. It's really quite cool. But when you put pressure on the mouse, the pad becomes more firm and increases that control and precision to a pretty amazing degree. It's hard to explain, but pretty much all playstyles here fit perfectly for this mouse pad. If you want a really, really good middle ground, which is what I tend to lean towards because I play a lot of different games, whether that's fast FPS, even slower RTS games, as well as simulation games like Hell Let Loose, things like that. I play a wide variety of games, and really this mouse pad is perfect for all of them. The build quality here is really high quality and premium. This is a knitted polyester cloth with the Artisan logo in the bottom right and has extremely high quality stitched edges. Definitely the softest and plushiest foam layer out of the 5 when you press down on it. It's very comfortable to use and to rest your wrist on. I also experienced no problem with the anti-slip coating. It like almost suctions to the desk, not as much as the Pulsar, but still suctions very tightly. It's never moved on me once. Overall, by far my favorite mouse pad out there, especially for FPS gaming. But again, if you want to check out any of the 5 mouse pads in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But this is a consumer tech review. And yes, I am a little bit sick during this, so sorry if my energy is a little bit lower and my voice sounds a little messed up. But yeah, this is a consumer tech review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.